From the Startup Experts community, this is the Becoming Better podcast, and I'm its host, Jesse Fries. Holly, it's amazing to have you on the Becoming Better at Startup Experts podcast. I can't believe it's taken this long to finally get you here. Would you mind introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your career journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started within the startup space back in 2012. And I think that was just sort of the first taste of it. And I have never left. And I've kind of continued to bounce around to a number of different cool companies. I would say an epic chapter in my journey was being at DoorDash when they had less than 30 employees and helped them grow from several different offices and move up to San Francisco. And it's just, I was there for over 4 years. So I got to see a lot and sit in a lot of different seats within DoorDash, which was pretty extraordinary. Lots of learning there. And then took those experiences to WAG and then to Dutchy. And now I am currently the lead HR business partner at Hatch. We are a sleep wellness service company. We've got these awesome bedside devices for adults and for kids focused on helping people get amazing rest.
That's great. You in particular have played such an impactful and amazing role in Startup Experts and like the growth of our community. I look back at, you were hosting events during the pandemic when we were doing our first virtual roundtable conversations and trying to figure out that format. And then, of course, when we go to Transform every year, you're leading up the team. So you in particular have made such a, positive contribution to Startup Experts, which is why, when the team that was looking at folks to celebrate earlier this year selected you as one of our 25 leaders to follow in 2025, I was like, heck yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm truly honored. This community has given me so much. I, wax poetic about the beauty and connection that comes from Startup Experts to whoever I can meet. I, learned early on, I think that I was at a dinner at Sue Olson's home. It was one of the earlier dinners. It was an in-person dinner. And this sense of belonging that I felt with other HR practitioners was mind-blowing. It was just to be in this space where everybody understood the challenges I was going through. People were offering me recommendations, suggestions, call me, connect with me. I'd be happy to meet up with you. And that started that night and it has not stopped to this day. And, a lot of that stems from the go-giver philosophy that you have been very intentional about layering into this community from day one. And it has just inspired me. I think it's, altered the way that I live. It's altered the way that I show up in my own workspace as well. This is a community that not only educates me, we've got so many webinars and we're teaching and we have in-person events and social events, but those social events and those learnings and connections for me, I now have dear, dear friends. I was thinking about it. I've gone to baby showers for people from Startup Experts, right? I haven't gone to a wedding yet, but I'm sure that's coming. But I spend so much time with people outside and I'm always learning from them and they're just nurturing me and reminding me what a gift it is to be part of the HR and people ops space. And also, letting me vent when sometimes things are tough and challenging. So, all in all, I love Startup Experts and I feel very grateful to be selected in this group. And, I think that everybody, deserves to be nominated at some point because we all work so hard and yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I love that story. I reflect back on this community, which definitely started, with a focus on professionally helping one another. But, you're a great example. And I know other stories similarly where, it has become as much a personal group as it has professionally. And,
Absolutely.
I love that you mentioned belonging because, as I look towards community and what community means, particularly these days, it really is, that sense of bringing people together and making them feel like they are part of the whole. So thank you for that. Would love to know about you a little bit personally. Would you share something, with our membership that you like to do personally that other folks might not be aware of?
Sure. I will. It's not really a secret or a surprise because I am a devoted member of the Startup Experts book club. But that's just one of the book clubs I'm part of. I love reading. This comes from my mom. I grew up with books everywhere growing up, and she's just a devout reader, all sorts of genres. And I actually have a really cool group of girlfriends that most of whom I went to high school with. We all kind of went to high school in different years, and we've been meeting for 8 years now. And we do a monthly book club get together. It's non-traditional. Read whatever you want. You do not have to read the same book. We all come together and we just inspire each other to read different genres, read different books. We express what that book meant to us. We, can also share if the book, rubbed us the wrong way, and we can discuss it. But it, keeps us thinking, keeps us discussing, reflecting on life, reflecting on how some of these stories are so relatable. And the in-person element, of course, is lovely. And then Dana Brown, who you know from Startup Experts, inspired me to start a Bookstagram account a couple of years ago. She's like, Holly, you read so much, you should put all these reviews out and kind of share them. So that's been fun for me too, just to have a space where I can, really be intentional about the books I've read, and I take time and I write a review and reflect on sort of what I gleaned from that story. So that's something. I nerd out on books. We can talk books any day, all day.
Yeah, no, I'm an avid reader as well. It's typically something that is more dry and business oriented in the morning with my
Mhm.
coffee, and then, escapism at night before I
Yeah.
fall asleep. Um, Booksagram, is that a platform or is that
It's
like
not.
Goodreads?
It's funny. It's referred to within the folks who join. It's Instagram, but
Okay.
everybody who, it's kind of, there's this whole collective of folks who dedicate their accounts to books and reviews and stories. And so we affectionately call it Bookstagram, but it's Instagram. We've just sort of taken it over and designated it. So I have a whole account there that happy to share with you.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll have to check it out. We
yeah,
should share that out. I'm curious to see what you're reading these days.
yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Uh, um, So these short form interviews really are designed around learning and
Mhm.
sharing out knowledge, and that's the collective power of Startup Experts. Is there something that you'd be willing to share that you're working on, that you've learned recently that's just making you a better employee, better human, and so on?
Yeah, there are a few things. I mean, I'm always learning. We're always pivoting. I would say right now, something that I've really had to embrace at Hatch in particular is the value of we believe in wet paint, which for me was really uncomfortable when I first joined the company. Basically, share your work early and often. Do not wait until it is perfect. Don't spend the week crafting the perfect slide deck, crafting the perfect document or memo. Let me see it on day one. Let me see that, 2-day iteration. What are you thinking? Give me the outline and invite input. Our CEO is a great model of this. Ann Weiss, she is like all about adding comments in Google Docs. We're on the Google Suite, and that's that's highly encouraged here is add comments, ask questions, provoke, and in a thoughtful way, of course. But really it's, we can build better together. So, we don't expect somebody to, come out with the perfect solution. And so it keeps a sense of humility and curiosity here, which also complements our value of learn faster. And the way you learn faster is trial and error and, really being curiosity, having a hypothesis and being willing to figure out like, oh, okay, that didn't work. And we'll move on here from here. So I would say that's something that has just been a lesson that I take back to even my early days when, started out at a startup, back in 2012 of thinking that I had to make things perfect. It had to look correct. And I also oftentimes was like, this is an idea that I have and I think it's fantastic. So this for sure is going to work. And realizing, did I talk to the people that are going to be impacted by this? Did I talk to every single person? Did I consider the timing of this? Did I consider what's happening in the business? Is this actually a good time to roll this program out? Am I leveraging the experts within the company? Maybe there's somebody, I want to bring in an external speaker, but maybe there's somebody here who can actually speak to that. So I think for me, it's involving people in my work and considering how it impacts them and getting their input in programs that I'm crafting.
Yeah, I like that comment. The wet paint concept. Iterate quickly and make adjustments, but bring the team together to work together. And in part, you also referenced a hindsight moment of, something that you've learned. So let's shift the gears a little bit to, a new initiative. What is something that excites you today that, you'll probably work more on in 2026?
Yeah, so we are really focused on manager effectiveness. I'm an HR business partner, and part of my role is to empower the leaders within this organization and make sure that they feel equipped to coach their team, to develop their team, to inspire their team, and help give those folks, strong career paths and move them forward. And so what we're looking at now, it's kind of similar, as we think of startup experts, we've got these amazing, leadership circles where we're mentoring each other and teaching each other and bringing a conversation or a topic and understanding how everyone in the room has experienced that and advice they may have. We want to do something similar at our company at Hatch, where, this last year we ran a program called Leading at Hatch, and we leveraged internal wisdom. So we had speakers from within our organization speaking on different leadership topics. And then we had small cohorts that we, handpicked with a variety of levels and experience. And each session, we carved out time to talk to one another and ask questions to the presenter, but also just to share amongst the group. And it was great, but those were also sort of these one and done, right? They went through the cohort and then it was like, okay, next cohort. What we want to do is bring space back for our leaders to come together in those smaller groups. We heard a lot from folks that having a space to just empathize with one another, to ask questions in a safe environment, learning from someone on a different team, right? We're a fully remote company, so you don't always get the benefit of just being in an environment where you can meet someone from, content gets to hang out with somebody from marketing, and someone from engineering gets to hang out with a design leader and ask them a question and understand what they're dealing with as they're managing others. So I'm super excited about that. We actually just had another HR business partner join us. She's amazing, and I'm thrilled to be getting to partner with her. As we know, sometimes in these smaller startup expert space, you don't always get to have partners. And so I'm really jazzed about getting to collaborate with her as we build this together.
So cool. I love your energy, and it's always great to see your enthusiasm
Thank you.
for these new initiatives. Wanted to ask you a little bit about your leadership and Transform. I get an opportunity to spend a couple intense days with you every year at Transform, which is also a joy. But for the benefit of the community, tell us a little bit about Transform and why you're passionate about that event in particular, and why every year you re-up to give yourself a lot of headaches, but managing and curating such a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, Transform for me, that was the first. I went to a conference, I think 2019, I believe was the first one I attended. And, I was just blown away by bringing in industry experts who were so approachable, sharing real stories of what it means to be an in-house operator, what they were doing, explaining what they learned, what wasn't working, what vendors they were using. And then I could walk down the hall and meet those very same vendors and start conversations with them. And, instead of having 7 demos over the course of 3 months, right, trying to get to know vendors, I can go into a room and meet all of these vendors, watch demos, talk to them, share what I'm dealing with, and get them to provide quotes and say, hey, we'll follow up, and just really get a chance to compare, while also meeting others who are using those vendors, etc. So it was just from a business standpoint, it was very, practical use of my time to get to meet all of this, HR tech stack, hear about what folks, what's kind of trending right now, what are people dealing with, what services are they leveraging, what solutions are they applying in their businesses and their organizations, especially from that people operations, HR, talent standpoint. And then a whole other layer I was not expecting was the opportunity to meet people from all over the country, now all over the world, and also really bond with people that I'd been seeing in the Startup Experts Slack channels that I, like, oh, this person's from Pennsylvania and this person's from Florida. And, I see them all the time asking great questions or offering advice, or I see them in a webinar. But I get to hang out and go to a happy hour with them, or sit next to them at a dinner and share like real, genuine conversation, give them a hug, right? And I love that. It just lit me up. And every year it just gets more and more exciting because our group gets bigger and bigger. And what I think, is really sacred about the Startup Experts group at Transform, it's a huge event. Transform is phenomenal, but it is massive. There, you have FOMO. You cannot be in all places at once at any given time. There are multiple events and things happening. You just can't go to all of them. But, to walk into a space where you know that there's a smaller group you can connect with. There are people who are showing up all alone by themselves, but they're part of Startup Experts, so you can pair up with them. We've got some smaller spaces too, where you can actually hear one another when you're having a conversation. There are definitely some spaces where it's hype and it's party and it's fun. But we do kind of create intentional moments where folks within Startup Experts can come together and process what they're learning, what they've been, who they've been speaking with, what sessions they attended, what vendors they talked to, if they snuggled puppies at the puppy, session there in the vendor hall. So I absolutely love it. I think for me, it is just incredible that we can bring our entire community together in a place that's not just social, but it's a very practical, relevant, useful space as an HR practitioner to be at Transform and to learn.
Yeah, no, that's great. And love the energy. I know we're starting to meet again. It's amazing how quickly Transform comes up every
Oh,
year. But here we are
yeah.
starting to make plans for 2026. For those folks that are watching the video version, I actually am, wearing the Startup Experts shirt that we give out to members, which is purposeful because I knew we were going to chat this morning. Before we wrap up this short form chat, Holly, is there one single piece of advice that you would share out that has served you well in your career?
Yeah, I think I'll just say as an HR business partner, because that's, for me, the most recent experience that I'm having. And, I came into this role thinking I need to have answers. I need to be prepared with all the answers. When somebody asks, I need to know. And I love being a helper. And I think part of being a helper is you want to always take care of people fully and thoroughly. And what has been really landing for me lately is it's really less about the answers, and it is so much more about the questions and listening and understanding, what is this person actually saying? What are they struggling with? What is the problem? And how can I reflect that back to them by asking them a question where they're solving it for themselves? They're having that aha moment. So I think that's really important, right? It keeps me curious at all times and really paying attention to what folks are saying, and just being someone that they want to come to, because I'm not just a yes person and handing something over, but really I'm spending time thoughtfully listening to them and caring about what they have to say, and then inviting them to consider, how, you feel, I tell people sometimes I feel like a therapist, sometimes I feel like a forensic sociologist with the spaces that I'm in, where I'm observing what are they saying, what are the nonverbals, what are they doing, but really, yeah, that being an observer and then just being willing to ask questions. And of course, it is always okay to say, I don't have the answer, but I will go find it for you, right? When there is a situation where somebody truly needs an answer, and if you don't have it, that's okay too, right? So yeah, that humility and that curiosity, I think, is so important.
Thank you for sharing. And again, congratulations on being selected as one of our
Yeah.
25 leaders to follow in 2025. Clear that you were an amazing selection.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate you. And I will just reiterate that I deeply appreciate the community you have started, that you are so dedicated to. And you really, it's life changing. It has changed my life, admittedly, fully. And I adore Startup Experts. And I'm just so thankful to be part of this group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this Becoming Better with Startup Experts discussion. If you're interested in learning more about our community and perhaps joining, please visit www.startupexperts.us.